Coming up on this episode, it's time for some more maintenance. Today it's engine service time. We're doing the oil, the fuel, the belts and the impeller.
That looks a lot smaller than what I've been given.
And we also find out something surprising about my engine along the way. That has seen better days.
Okay, so winter is finally over. I say finally over. The other day on the news they were saying that we've not had a dry day yet in the UK this year. But time is moving on, and we got to start thinking about getting ready for the new season. And first, well, not first, but it definitely includes an engine service. So here I am in Santana, and we're going to try and get that done today. Haven't serviced it before, and in fact the only service engine I've done is on my AEC, which is like a marine engineering kind of certificate. But they were much bigger engines in a warehouse, so this should be quite interesting today. Here is my Yanmar engine. We've already warmed up the engine and ticked over. We've got to turn off the water stopcock and the fuel at the back over there. I've taken out the planking at the top so I can get into it better. And yeah, we're going to attempt to service this. Thankfully I have got friends in the marina, so if it all goes pear-shaped, I'll be calling them. Right, let's give it a go. Right, we'll start by water off, fuel off. That's isolated all of the systems. What we've got here is the service kit the chandlery gave to me, so that's got all the parts of the engine and the additional, I believe that's the fuel filter to go with it, and the belt alternator, although they haven't given me the small one for the impeller. It looks alright, but that's not ideal. I'll just match that one up. Yeah, that's going to fit on that one. I believe it's 12mm on the back here. There we go. That's bigger. 14. Yeah. There we go. That one's off. One old belt. That's the new one that's going to go on. There. Nice. Right. I'll put that back on in a minute. Now I want to get the impeller, which is behind this. Other way. Good. Right, this unit here can come out. Okay. Thankfully that belt doesn't look too bad. There's no fraying, there's no splits, no cracks. So I can still use that for now. Although I will make a note of the part number so I can get another one. I want this to come off. So I'm going to change the impeller next. There's the impeller housing. While I loosen this, this is going to leak seawater, so... There he goes. That looks a lot smaller than what I've been given, than what's already in there. So the one the chandlery gave me in the kit is actually far smaller than the one I just pulled out. In fact, the diameter of the inside there won't even fit in the impeller housing. Luckily, the chap I bought the boat off of give me another set, so we'll go ahead and pop that in. Cool. Impeller done.
Okay, so it turns out that after I'd done the impeller and the belts, I lost the ability to comment on what I was doing whilst I was working. So we're now onto the oil. I'm using this pump to pull out the old oil. Because the engine's been warmed up, the oil is easier to move out. I know roughly after looking at the engine book, I'm looking at about 2 litres to be drained.
Here it comes.
So once that comes out, I then get the soft wrench out, or fabric wrench, whatever you call them, and I get to the oil filter and take the oil filter off. One thing to notice here, if you can see, is I've not actually put the belt back on yet from the alternator. This is so that I can get into the oil filter easier, because if the belt was there, I'd be then trying to move around that with the wrench. So I just found it easier to do all of this first and then put that belt back on last. Once I got the filter off and cleaned up a fair bit, because there was a bit more oil in here than I thought there was going to be, and it leaked a little bit everywhere, it was then time to get the new one out. This is a new part that came in the service kit that I got from the chandlery. So once I'd got that out, checked the seals on it, and then I managed to put it back into place. Screws on simply and then tightened up with the soft wrench. This is really good because at this point the old oil filter was starting to leak a little bit on the seal at the bottom and the engine starts up. It was fine once the engine was running and it was warm, but at the start when it was cold, it was dribbling a little bit into the bilge, kind of on the little lip area you can see there below the engine. But after testing this one, once you put a new one in, there are no more leaks anymore and it looks brilliant. So that's the oil filter done. Moving on. After that was done, I put the belt back on, tensioned it up, gave it a little twist to make sure that it had enough tension in it. I also removed the air filter at this point so I can get into the fuel filters easy enough, because you can see them on the right hand side of the engine bay. And I also topped it back up with oil, making sure to use a dipstick to make sure I put enough in, knowing that I would need about 2 litres because that's what I took out in the start.
So something is a bit amiss here. If that's the fuel line coming in, this would technically be classed as the primary fuel filter, except for the fact that you can see the fuel filter is here with the glass jar beneath it, so this should be the primary. I'm guessing this is either some form of paper filter, or I don't really know what else it could be, before this one, because what I believe is the secondary filter is this one here, going up into the engine. But who knows? Maybe it's not. I'm not entirely sure. But the pipework coming off of that goes around there. It goes into there. I don't know. The reason I think it's that is because in this kit, I've got this filter. And as far as I'm concerned, that's the only place it can go. So, what is that? Anyway, we'll change this one because that's what I've got the filter for, which hopefully is this. And then we'll have a look at that one afterwards. It appears to have some form of bleed screw on the top, so I'm guessing, and these 2 directional arrows, so I would assume that is a fuel filter. But we'll see. Right, onto this one. So whilst looking around the engine to try and find the manual bleed pump before I take the fuel filters apart, I found an anode, which I've taken out, and I'm pretty sure that has seen better days. My thoughts are that probably hasn't been replaced in years. Right, up to the chandlery, see if they've got one. Right, so we've got our replacement parts, although I do need to screw the mouldy bit off to put the new bits on. And there we go, new anode attached to the base. The old one is pretty grim. So let's put that back in the engine. Now this anode, yeah, it's right in there, down the side of the engine. So it's a right pain to get to. Right. You can probably do most of it by hand. There it is. Okay, let's get the ratchet. There we go. Right, that's good.
With that sorted, it was time to get on with doing the fuel filter, starting with the primary filter and beginning by draining out the fuel inside the jar by undoing the little tab, I suppose you can call it, at the bottom of the jar and draining it out into my little bucket here. This took a while because I didn't want to spill much everywhere, so it kind of dribbled out. Once that's done, it's time to unbolt the top pin and then pull the jar out itself. I start off by using a ratchet just to loosen it, and then I use a screwdriver that I put the same socket onto to pull the rest of it out, just so I can pull it out safely and carefully and while still in control. This allows me to pick the bolt up at the same time as the end of the screwdriver, as I'm doing here. Makes it a bit easier to get it out. Once the fuel filter's out and mopping up a bit of the spillage, it's time to get on with the seals.
Okay. So now the filter's off. Go off the jar here. Jar's here. Old filter is here in the pool of fuel. New filter. The new filter comes with all these different O-rings, so you need to make sure you get the right ones in the right place. It comes with 4. It comes with a larger circle. Say a large circle. A small circle. A smaller circle, like that one there. And then 2 large ones. This tiny circle is the old one. The new one is already on there. This one goes in there, under there, and then these 2 go top and bottom of this, so that when it goes back on the jar and in, we're all good to go. Okay, once we've assembled everything again, it'll look like that. That's the fuel filter changed, or at least the primary. Water separator at the back.
Right, I know what you're thinking. Earlier, I said I didn't know what that was, and now I'm calling it a water separator. This is because when I went to the chandlery to get the zinc anodes for the engine, I was speaking to the engineer that was there at the time about what I'm doing. I asked him about it, and he said that it is a water separator. So that's what I'm calling it now, until I get corrected anything different. So yeah, that's why I've now got terminology changes.
Primary filter, that's all on. I'll have to loosen that when I fill it back up again. Just this one to go. That is not the same size. Okay, I didn't notice that I'd run out of battery whilst I was messing around, but that's now changed. It was an absolute pig to get off and to get back on. That's all done, that's all done. So now we've got to put fuel back through the system, bleed it through, and hopefully that will be it. Whew. So let's open up all the stopcocks and get it bled through. So you can see that fuel is now starting to come back up through here. I got a little manual pump on the side of the engine down here I can use to get some of the air out, and the air's coming at the top through this bleed nipple here, which is all the way off. Superb! So here's a little quick tip on my stupidity. So I fired up the engine as I showed and it worked fine, but I then noticed that this fuel filter was only half full in the jar and I wanted that full at the top. So bled the system through again to get the oil up, and it's turning over and it's turning over, it's turning over, and it's not starting. So I check everything, I check the primary, I check the secondary, I even bleed the injectors, and it's still not turning over. So wit's end, so I thought, oh, I'll ring the guys and see if they got any ideas. And one of them goes, have you turned the off switch off? And of course I hadn't. So this lever here is the choke that stops the engine from running, and where I tested it first time, started it up, got excited, and then turned it off, I forgot to reset that whilst I bled the system. So I spent best part of 20 minutes getting annoyed with myself, thinking that I wasn't doing it properly, when in fact I was doing it properly, except I'd forgotten this bit. So sometimes the easiest answers simply are the simplest things. But good news, if we alive. Nice. So that is fully serviced. It's taken me best part of the afternoon because, in fact, this is the first time I've ever serviced this engine or any engine outside my AEC. And I don't really mention it here, but it is quite a nice sense of achievement, really, that I've managed to do something that I've never been or never done before. So yeah, chalk up another good thing about boating. At some point I'm going to try and service the outboard engine though, and I'm not sure how I'm going to do that one. But we'll save that for a different day. So my plan was to talk it through as I did it, but I got so involved on doing it that I forgot to talk about it, so there's probably been a voiceover over this by now. But yeah, so service an engine. I hope you've enjoyed watching this content. As usual, if you enjoy this kind of stuff, please check out my other videos and like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff to help continue and support the channel. Until we see you on the next one, which hopefully will not be a maintenance job. Until we see you then, take care, and we'll see you again. Goodbye.